This happened just a few months ago. I was 32, a freelance graphic designer who worked from home. I had just gone through a breakup and was trying my best to focus on work and find new inspiration. My small studio apartment was in an older downtown building. During the day, it was bright and airy, but at night, it felt shadowy and closed in. I chose this place because it was affordable, and I thought the artistic vibe would spark my creativity. I've never stopped thinking about what happened on Valentine's Day. I stepped out to get the mail. When I opened my door, I found an elaborately decorated box of chocolates. It was addressed to no one. I figured it was a mix-up from a neighbor or maybe a delivery mistake. I brought it inside, but a weird feeling settled in my stomach. I couldn't shake it. I set the chocolates on the kitchen counter and tried to get back to work. The next morning, I found a handwritten note slipped under my door. It was short, just a few lines expressing admiration, but it was signed with a strange symbol. I stared at it for a moment, wondering who might have sent it. It felt odd, like someone was trying to reach out in a way that wasn't quite normal. I think I tried to dismiss it at first, but the unsettling feeling crept back. The next day, another note showed up. This one was longer and more detailed, almost personal. More weird phrases spilled from the page, and the same symbol was at the bottom. I wanted to laugh it off, say it was just some prank, but I couldn't help feeling watched. I felt cold as I locked the door behind me. Over the following days, strange things began happening in the hallway. The lights flickered whenever I walked by, and at night, I could swear I heard soft giggles when I was alone. I was on edge. I even asked a neighbor about the notes, but they looked at me like I was crazy. No one seemed to know anything about the chocolates or the letters, which only added to my unease. Maybe I was just overthinking it. Then things got worse. One day, I found a note that said, "I see you, Megan." My heart raced, and I dropped it. I wished I could forget it all, but the feeling of being watched grew stronger with each passing day. I couldn't shake the thought that I was in some kind of nightmare. The letters kept coming, each one more personal, more ominous. Late one night, I mustered the courage to check the hallway again. It was dark and quiet. I stepped out and saw a figure at the end of the hall. They were just standing there, facing away from me. I thought I should say something. When I asked if they were okay, they didn't answer. Just stood still, almost like they were waiting. Then they turned slowly. I felt my stomach drop. I blinked, and suddenly they were gone. I rushed back into my apartment, too scared to look around. Who was I dealing with? I tried to convince myself that it was all in my head. But deep down, I knew it wasn't just my imagination. Something was off, and I had to figure it out. That's when I noticed something on the wall by my door. A faint mark. It looked like the same strange symbol from the letters. I was frozen, staring at it, and suddenly the lights flickered again. I heard a soft giggle behind me. I turned around slowly, and at that moment, I realized the letters still hadn't stopped. I couldn't shake the feeling that something deeply unsettling was at play. The lights flickered again, and that giggle echoed in my ears. I took a deep breath and stepped away from the wall. I needed to focus. I couldn't let my imagination spiral out of control. Feeling a rush of adrenaline, I rummaged through my cluttered desk for my phone. I tried to calm myself by documenting everything. I snapped a picture of the symbol on the wall, then quickly texted a friend asking for advice. I needed someone else's perspective on this. If there was a logical explanation, maybe they could help me find it. While I waited for a response, I paced the small space. The tension hung thick in the air. Each creak of the building whispered secrets I didn't want to hear. I decided to clear my mind with some art. Painting had always centered me, but tonight, I felt the canvas taunt me. Each brush stroke felt weighed down by the mystery around me. After what felt like an eternity, my phone buzzed. It was my friend Jess. Hey! Sounds strange. Maybe it's just someone being weird? I wouldn't let it get to you. I wanted to believe her, but as I glanced toward the door, my heart sank. The soft giggle echoed again, sending chills up my spine. Suddenly, the lights flashed and died. A pitch-black darkness engulfed the apartment. Panic surged through me. I fumbled for my phone, desperately shining its light around. I could hear my own breathing, sharp and frantic. I shouted, "Hello? Is anyone there?" For a moment, silence filled the room, the kind that buzzed in my ears. Then, I heard footsteps soft and deliberate coming from the hallway. I couldn't help myself. I crept toward the door like a moth to a flame, driven by a mix of fear and curiosity. Before I reached for the doorknob, I caught a glimpse of something from the corner of my eye. A small shadow darted past the window. My heart clenched. I flipped the light on my phone toward it, but nothing was there. Had I imagined it? Then I recalled the notes, each one laced with strange symbols and hidden messages that felt almost prophetic. I needed to understand what they meant. I turned back to my desk and pulled out the stack of letters. I sat cross-legged and scrutinized them under my phone light, hoping to uncover a clue I had missed. As I shuffled through them, I noticed something off in the last letter. Along with the familiar symbol, there was a word I hadn't seen before. Mortal. A cold shiver ran down my spine. What did that mean? With that single word, a new layer of dread settled over me. My instinct screamed that whatever was happening was much more serious than I had imagined. Just then, the door rattled as if someone was trying to get in. My heart dropped. Someone or something was definitely out there. I stumbled back, clutching my phone, waiting for the next moment to unfold. I stood there, frozen, as the rattling stopped. My heart pounded in my chest, each beat echoing against the silence that had engulfed my apartment. The sudden stillness was worse than the noise. It felt like something was waiting, watching. "Who is there?" I called out, my voice tremoring slightly. No answer came. I was about to inch toward the door when I heard it again, a soft footstep, then a faint whisper that made my skin crawl. It was too soft to understand, but the tone felt almost playful, like a child's taunt. I turned back to the letters, desperate to drown out the sounds. Maybe there was something else hidden within them. I hurriedly shuffled through the pages again. But my mind was foggy, the fear clouding my thoughts. Mortality. Symbols. The giggling. What did it all mean? Then, a sharp knock made me jump. It was loud, insistent, followed by a brief silence before another knock reverberated through the door. My breath quickened. This time, it came with a voice, "Let me in." It wasn't just the words. It was the tone, a chilling mix of urgency and something else I couldn't place. "Who are you?" I forced out, trying to sound brave but fully aware that I sounded more shaky than anything. "You know who I am," the voice replied, thick with familiarity. My stomach twisted. I couldn't recall ever hearing it before, yet there was something unerringly recognizable about it. As I backed away from the door, I caught sight of my reflection in the window. My eyes looked wide with fear, and I almost didn't recognize myself. Was this expression even mine? Did anyone really understand what was happening? The giggle echoed again, clearer this time, punctuated by a soft tap against the window. I spun around, heart racing. Outside, in the dim glow of the streetlights, I saw a figure, a girl, small and childlike, standing just beyond the glass. Her dark hair framed her face, and her eyes gleamed with a mischievous spark. "No!" I shouted, a mix of fear and anger flooding through me. "What do you want?" She only leaned closer to the glass, pressing her face against it as if she could peer deeper into my soul. Then she pointed toward the ceiling, the expression on her face shifting from playful to grim. My breath caught in my throat. The ceiling? Before I could question what she meant, her mouth formed the word mortal. That single word hung in the air like a ghost, dredging up awful possibilities in my mind. I had to understand. Whatever this was, it tied back to the letters. But before I could think, the lights flickered back on just for a moment. In that brief flash, I glanced at the wall behind me and gasped. The symbol had changed. It pulsed, almost alive. Then everything went dark again. My phone slipped from my grasp, clattering to the floor as panic surged. I dropped to my knees, fumbling for the device, heart racing faster than I thought possible. And that S when I realized, the giggle wasn't echoing in my ears anymore. It was right next to me. I didn't dare to look up. My instinct screamed at me to run, to hide, but my body refused to move. Instead, I stayed frozen, feeling the cold sweat trickle down my back. That laugh, the voice of the girl, echoed in my mind, weaving in and out of my panic. I fumbled with my phone, managing to turn on the flashlight. The beam pierced through the darkness, casting shaky shadows across the room. I swung it around, half expecting to see her grinning right beside me. But she was gone. Stay calm, I whispered to myself, though I felt far from calm. My breathing was erratic. What was happening? Was it all connected to the letters? I swept the light across the walls, scanning for clues. The symbol was still there, but now it felt bigger, more menacing. In that moment, the silence broke again. This time, it was a soft scraping noise, like nails dragging across wood. My heart skipped. I crouched down, trying to make myself smaller. The sound grew closer, a haunting echo that filled the void of my apartment. "Please, no," I murmured, feeling foolish. I turned off the flashlight to save the battery, but darkness swallowed me whole. Suddenly, something tiny brushed against my arm. I gasped and recoiled, instinctively reaching for my phone again. The light flickered back on, illuminating the area. My heart lurched at what I saw. A toy, a ragged teddy bear, lay on the floor, its button eyes dull and lifeless. I don't remember ever owning a teddy bear. Had it come from the girl? My mind raced back to the letters. Symbols. Mortality. What did it all mean? The warmth of the bear felt wrong in a suddenly cold world, and I picked it up gingerly. Then, out of the corner of my eye, I saw movement in the reflection of the window. I spun around. The girl stood outside again, staring at me. But this time, she wasn't alone. Shadows danced around her, forming shapes that sent a chill through my bones. They looked like elongated figures, twisting in ways that weren't possible. Before I could process anything, she mouthed the word again, mortal. It felt like a warning. She pointed to my wrist where I still clutched the teddy bear. I racked my brain for any connection. Was this bear significant? The lights flickered above me, and the room pulsed with a heavy energy. The shadows lurched toward the window, their movements jerky and unnatural. I stumbled back, clutching the bear to my chest like a fragile shield. Then I noticed the symbol. It glimmered with an ominous glow, and it seemed to writhe against the wall. That S when I saw it. The reflection in the window didn't just show the girl. It captured something behind me, something tall and dark with eyes that glinted like the moon on metal. It knew I was here. A scream threatened to break free as the shadows pressed against the glass. I felt trapped, caught between two worlds, the tangible and the unimaginable. And then, in a heartbeat, the glass cracked. I stumbled back from the window as the crack splintered outwards, a spiderweb of fragile glass. My heart raced, and panic gripped me. The girl and those shadows loomed large in my mind, but fear flooded my senses, demanding a reaction. I turned to run. Just as I reached the door, a rush of cold air brushed past me, slamming it shut. I fell back, scrambling to find my footing. My breath came quick and shallow. This couldn't be happening. I cast my light back toward the window, now fractured and pulsing with a strange energy. The girl stood firm outside, the shadows contorting around her like black smoke, twisting and crawling. I could almost hear them whispering, a sinister chorus that echoed in the silent apartment. Each sound felt charged, like it was meant to drive a dagger deeper into my mind. "Stop!" I shouted, my voice breaking. "What do you want?" Her lips moved again, though no sound came through. She pointed toward the broken glass, her expression filled with urgency. That's when I noticed something new. A small shard of glass had fallen to the floor, glowing faintly as if reacting to the darkness in the room. Instinctively, I reached for it, driven by a curious pull. As my fingers brushed against the sharp edge, a shock ran through me. Images flashed in my mind, faces, places, moments of laughter and joy, but each was steeped in shadows, enveloped in that same sense of dread. I jerked back, dropping the shard. The girl's face twisted, blending fear with an agonizing sadness. The shadows flickered, warping her form and pulling at my reality. I felt tears prick at the corners of my eyes. I was losing control of something I couldn't understand. "Tell me," I begged. Memories of the letters flooded back, the symbol now weaving in and out of those visions. It all connected somehow. I needed to know why she was here, why this was happening. But before the girl could respond, the air in the room shifted dramatically. The temperature dropped, and with it, the shadows coalesced, starting to take on more defined shapes. They swelled like an impending storm, creeping closer. I backed toward the wall, feeling its coldness seep into my skin. That's when I heard a soft voice from inside, phasing through the chaos. "Help me." It was gentle, a plea that cut through the noise. I hesitated. Was I imagining this? Or was there another presence here, one that needed my help rather than threatening me? With every fiber of my being, I stepped forward, feeling the weight of the bear in my hand, my own lifeline in this disaster. "Who are you?" I whispered, my voice barely more than a breath. Her expression flickered with hope, and just for a moment, the shadows paused. Then, before my eyes, the teddy bear pulsed, a rhythmic beating that echoed my own heart. And then everything went dark. When the darkness engulfed me, I felt like I was floating, disconnected from my body. My eyes struggled to adjust, and for a moment, I couldn't tell where I was. There was no sound, no light. I reached out, trying to grasp something tangible, but my hands met only emptiness. Then, gradually, a dim glow emerged. It flickered like a firefly. I focused on it, feeling drawn toward the light. As I moved closer, the familiar silhouette of the girl came into focus. She was no longer outside the window. Now she stood just a few feet away, her features clearer, but still shadowed. "Where are we?" I managed to ask, my throat dry as dust. She pointed again. This time, I followed her gaze. A door appeared in the distance, framed by an otherworldly light that pulsed rhythmically, much like the teddy bear in my hand. Instinctively, I tightened my grip on it. Whatever was happening, it felt like it was connected to the girl and to that door. I took hesitant steps forward. Each step echoed, soft and hollow, in a way that sent chills down my spine. As I approached the door, I felt warmth radiate from it, contrasting sharply with the coldness that surrounded us. "Help me," she whispered again, her voice barely audible, but this time it felt urgent, imbued with desperation. "Are you trapped?" I asked, my mind racing. I wanted to believe I could do something to help her, to break through this darkness. But how? The shadows around her writhed, as if responding to my thoughts. I could see them slinking closer to me. They seemed angry now, a palpable hatred swirling around, fueled by my questions. Fear squeezed my chest again, but I forced myself to focus. "Is it safe to open the door?" I called out, looking to her for guidance. In her eyes, I thought I saw an answer, but it flickered away, drowned by the shadows. Then it happened. As I groped for the doorknob, a dark tendril shot out, brushing against my wrist. It was icy cold, like a living thing intent on dragging me back. I jerked away, heart pounding, but I couldn't let it stop me. The shadows surged forward, a wave of darkness crashing against my resolve. "Stay back," I yelled, swinging the bear in a defensive arc. To my surprise, it glowed a little brighter, illuminating a path through the darkness, pushing them back. Seizing the moment, I lunged for the door and twisted the knob. It creaked open slowly, revealing a blinding light that hurt my eyes. This was it. This was the way out. But just as I stepped inside, the world shifted again. I stumbled, falling hard onto a cold, wooden floor. My breath caught in my throat. The girl was gone. Everything felt different now. I was in my old bedroom, the walls adorned with childhood drawings. But there was something off about it. The air thrummed with tension, and the shadows lurked in corners, dark and waiting. That S when I saw an envelope on my desk. It was sealed with a familiar symbol, the same one from the letters. Heart racing, I reached for it, knowing whatever was inside might hold a key to everything. As I tore it open, a sudden chill swept through the room. I found out what it said, but that just made things worse. The words blurred in front of me. I squinted, trying to make sense of the letter. It began with my name, handwritten in a shaky script, and went on to outline a series of events I didn't remember. Moments stolen from me, pieces of my life erased without a trace. The last line hit me like a punch. "Do not trust what you see. Shadows are always watching." I felt the room close around me. The drawings on the walls, once innocent representations of my childhood, now seemed to twitch with life, their colors muted and the characters twisted. I could almost hear them whispering. Panic clawed at my throat. It wasn't just the letter. The shadows felt thicker now, as if they were creeping closer, drawn in by my fear. Then I heard a sound, a soft thud from downstairs. My first instinct was to dismiss it. Maybe it was just my imagination, or the house settling. But a cold dread washed over me, filling the space as the shadows left. I stood frozen, the letter crumpled in my hand. Should I investigate? Should I hide? I remembered the girl's face, the urgency in her voice. Help me. That was enough to push me into movement. I felt the weight of the teddy bear in my other hand as I gripped it tightly. It had helped me before in that dark place. Maybe it could do so again. With a deep breath, I pushed open my bedroom door. The hallway was dark, but I could make out the faint outlines of the family photos lining the walls. They didn't seem right, though. Their smiles felt hollow, and the shadows lingered too heavily around them. I stepped onto the creaky floorboards, every sound echoing loudly in the stillness. The thud came again, a solid sound that sent a shiver through me. I took a hesitant step forward, creeping toward the staircase that led down to the living room. Just check it out, I muttered to myself, trying to rally courage. With careful steps I descended. Each creak sounded like a warning. I was met with darkness, the kind that swallowed sound. When I reached the bottom, I noticed the living room was bathed in an eerie glow coming from the fireplace. The flames weren't in the fireplace, though. They sat in the center of the room, swirling, flickering with unnatural colors. My heart raced. Instinctively, I took a step back. It looked wrong, alive in a way that felt unsettling. That was when I caught something out of the corner of my eye, movement in the shadows. It wasn't just the flickering of the flames. Something else loomed just beyond visibility. "Who's there?" I called out, but my voice trembled. No reply, just silence. I turned to run back up the stairs when I saw it clearly. A face peering out from the deep shadows. Eyes shining, reflecting the fire's glow, and right then, in that instant, I knew it was watching me. A low chuckle escaped its lips, a sound that rattled through me like thunder. I raced back up the stairs, focusing on the door to my room. I had to get back to safety. As my hand reached for the doorknob, I turned to look one last time. What I saw stopped me cold. The door vanished, swallowed by the walls, leaving me trapped in the hallway surrounded by encroaching shadows. "What do you want from me?" I yelled, desperation rising in my voice. Then everything went dark. I woke up, gasping for air. My heart pounded painfully in my chest. I was still in the hallway, but everything felt different. The shadows surrounded me, thick and suffocating. I blinked, trying to adjust to the dark, but it was like the night had come alive. A low hum resonated through the air, vibrating in my bones. I turned around, searching for the direction it came from, but all I could see were those oppressive shadowy shapes. That's when I noticed a flicker in the darkness, not from the fireplace, but from something behind me. Slowly, I approached the wall where the door had been. My fingers brushed against the cool surface, and for a moment, I felt something warm against my skin, almost like a heartbeat. I recoiled, stumbling back. "Okay, think," I whispered to myself, trying to gather my thoughts. My mind raced with questions. Why had the door vanished? Where was the girl from the letter? The humming grew louder, and I could see a shape materializing in the shadows. It was indistinct, shifting as if it were made of darkness itself. Panic surged through me again. I had to make a decision. I couldn't stay here. I turned back toward the staircase, hoping maybe I could leap back up, but the staircase felt like it had stretched impossibly high. Just a few steps, I told myself, heart racing. I took a step, then another. Each footfall echoed loudly, and the shadows seemed to respond, swirling around my feet like a thick fog. Then I heard it again, the chuckle, now closer. My breath stuck in my throat. I glanced over my shoulder. The face was emerging through the shadows, clearer now, and I felt a chill run down my spine. It was a twisted version of a child's face, all wide eyes and sinister grinning lips. "Help me," it called out, but the voice was wrong, distorted and mocking. I stumbled back, fighting the urge to scream. I turned and bolted down the hall, feeling the walls close in as I searched for any way out. There had to be a door or a window, anything. But every surface felt smooth, unyielding, devoid of escape. Suddenly, I remembered the letter tucked in my pocket. I fumbled for it, feeling the weight of those words. "Do not trust what you see." Maybe the shadows were hiding something. Clutching the letter tightly, I called out, "What do you want from me?" Silence fell for a heartbeat, then the shadows rippled, almost laughing. "Find the heart," the voice echoed, deeper and more threatening than before. My mind raced with the meaning. What heart? Then a vision flashed before me. A faint image of the girl again, her face twisted in pain and fear, pointing toward the fireplace. The swirling flames flickered brighter, beckoning me. I hesitated. The laughter echoed again, vibrating through the air. I felt compelled to move, pulled toward the fire against my better judgment. But as I stepped closer, I felt that warmth rising, ready to consume me. That's when I realized I wasn't just facing shadows, I was stepping into an ancient trap, and the heart was the key to either my freedom or total darkness. I stepped closer to the fire, my instincts screaming at me to retreat. The flames danced and twisted, casting odd shadows across the walls. They flickered in a way that made me feel like they were trying to tell me something. I could almost hear whispers in the flickering light, but they were lost in the low hum that surrounded me. What heart? I whispered into the darkness, hoping for an answer. The air thickened, weighed down by something that felt ancient and alive. I scanned the room again, searching for anything that hinted at the heart. There had to be a clue somewhere. Suddenly, the wall near the fireplace began to shimmer. My heartbeat quickened. I stepped toward it, nearly entranced. As I reached out, the texture changed beneath my fingers. It felt strange, almost soft compared to the cold, hard stones surrounding me. I pressed harder, and the wall rippled like water, revealing a hidden space behind it. The shadows around me recoiled, as if repulsed by the opening. My pulse raced. My fear battled my curiosity, but I couldn't resist. I needed to know what lay beyond this dark corridor. I pushed the wall further, and it swung wide, revealing a small, dimly lit room. It was filled with strange objects, cages, dolls, and a rotting wooden heart lying in the center. The heart wasn't just any artifact. It looked alive, pulsing faintly, as if it were drawing breath. A sickening feeling churned in my stomach. As I stepped inside, the door behind me slammed shut. I whirled around, panic flooding my veins. The laughter returned, louder this time, echoing in the small space. It wasn't just from the shadows anymore. It felt alive, wrapping around me, suffocating. Find the heart? The voice taunted once again, deeper now, echoing off the walls. I reached for the heart, my fingers trembling. The moment I touched it, visions exploded behind my eyes. The girl from my dreams. A scene of her being pulled away, her face twisted in terror. No! I gasped, stumbling back. I realized this heart wasn't just a key. It was tethered to something much darker. I needed to understand why it was here. Before I could think, the room began to shift again. The walls distorted, and shadows crept farther in, threatening to swallow me. I stood frozen, torn between running back into the darkness and facing whatever this thing was. When everything went dark. It felt like the shadows consumed the light, merging with me. My heart raced as I realized I could barely see my own hands. Help! I screamed, but the darkness swallowed my voice whole. Just as despair began to set in, I felt something brush against my arm. A fleeting warmth. I turned, desperately searching for anything that could guide me. And when I saw it, a glimmer of light breaking through the darkness ahead. It pulsed rhythmically, like a heartbeat. My mind screamed at me to find my way back, but deep down, something urged me forward. Find the heart, it echoed again in my head. I had to make a choice. Return to the thick, suffocating shadows or trust that strange light guiding me. I took a deep breath and stepped toward the glimmer, ready to see what awaited me. The light enveloped me, wrapping around me like a warm embrace, pushing back the shadows that clung to my skin. I tried to keep focused, the rhythmic pulsing luring me in like a siren's call. I stumbled forward, away from the darkness, and it felt like I was stepping into a different world. As I crossed the threshold, a sudden rush of air hit me, sending a chill down my spine and clearing my mind. I found myself in a room filled with mirrors, each one reflecting the other in infinity. I felt an urge to run, a flight response kicking in. But I couldn't ignore the glowing heart still throbbing against the walls. I caught sight of a mirror that reflected the girl, the one from my nightmares, eyes bright with hope and fear. I rushed toward it. You brought me here. I want to help you, I shouted, my voice echoing off the glass. But as I approached, the reflection warped, twisting into shadows once more. No! I yelled, pounding my fists against the surface. A ringing sound filled my ears, like glass shattering, and a sharp pain shot through my hand. I pulled back, blood trickling from where the glass had pricked me. In that moment, a rush of power shot through me, and the heart pulsated even more fiercely. The mirrors around me trembled. You have to let go, the girl's voice urged, echoing from somewhere in the maze of reflections. Let go of what you think is real. Chaos unfolded as the shadows began to swirl violently, pulling at my consciousness. I closed my eyes, desperately trying to focus on my own heartbeat, the one steady reminder that I was still alive. Let go! The girl's voice rang out again, sharper this time, slicing through the chaos. With a shudder, I took a step back and then let go. Everything that I had held onto, the darkness, the fear, the need for understanding released like a breath exhaled after holding it too long. The mirrors cracked, shotting into fragments that rained around me, each shard glowing with a warm light. And then, as if in response, the shadows shrank away, dissolving into nothing. The heart in the center of the room shuddered one last time before it burst into a shower of light, everything transforming. The space around me shifted again, and I felt myself being pulled physically, every sense heightened as I fought to balance on the edge of despair and hope. When the lights faded, I found myself back in my apartment, everything eerily still. The shadows were gone, but the air felt different, untouched, like the remnants of a storm. I glanced at the wall, where the symbol had been, now merely a dull smear, lifeless. I was free. Or at least I thought I was. My heart raced in the stillness, but something deep inside me, an instinct, told me this was not entirely over. In the quiet, I turned to my desk and found one last letter there, waiting. I hesitated, feeling a buzz of familiarity from its presence. This time, there was no one to watch over me. I opened it slowly, the words written in delicate script, mysterious but clear. You have faced darkness and found your light. But there are many shadows yet to be seen. I took a deep breath, my heart heavy with the realization that this was truly the end. Perhaps I had only scratched the surface. I couldn't dismiss the feeling gnawing at me that the girl was still out there, still trapped in her own cycle. And as I pondered that, I noticed a small glimmer of the heart still pulsing faintly in the shadows of my memory, a pulse that could no longer be ignored. I moved to the window, peering out into the night. The world was quiet, but a sense of foreboding hung in the air. I knew I had survived, but I also understood that the question, "What next?" lingered, waiting to unfold into whatever mystery awaited. I packed my things and decided to leave, footsteps echoing behind me, the shadows barely out of sight, but a flicker of determination sparked. I glanced back at my apartment one last time, a weight in my chest. I didn't know if they would ever truly leave me, but I knew I'd face whatever came next. And with that, I stepped into the night, unsure yet hopeful. As the shadows danced just beyond the edges of the streetlight,